Hey now, so I've got this old Ikea Trofast model shelving unit here that takes these bins of various sizes, and we don't really need this in the playroom anymore. It's kind of occupying space, and I thought I would take it and convert it into a Lego table. I actually want to make it into two of them, so I can utilize this bottom shelf and actually turn it into the top of a second part, probably have them attached together, and just basically have these buckets to organize their Lego. You can see this one here has a whole ton of Lego in it right now, but we're going to see if we can make this a little bit more organized. So let's get started. So step one here is to go ahead and just using for this model, it's a 5/32 Allen key, and I'm going to remove all of these screws here so that we can run the boards through the saw. And I'm going to hang on to these. Oh, are these screws? Are these bolts? I don't know. I hate this stuff. Yeah, I'm going to hang on to them just so I can repurpose them here. Alright, so this is coming apart now. It is worthy to note that there are dowels in here as well, holding this together for added support. So I just have to be careful when I go ahead and remove this so as not to really damage those. Just like so. There we are. Now I think I want this table to be around 26 inches high off the ground. So because I'm going to be putting a base on it, that's I'm still deciding it's either going to be a 1/2 inch or 5/8. I'm just going to go ahead and mark off 25.5 inches here, and that will wind up being close enough for this job. And now, just to be safe, I'll use my square here, go like this, and connect the dots. Just a hair above, so I'll do the same over here. No, of course that one was bang on. Let's go down ever so slightly here. Nice. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut these with the table saw. And then I'll just repeat with the second one. So now I want to cut off from the bottom here. And in order to do that, I'm going to, because these pins are reverse of what they need to be for the top, I do have to cut this here, and then I'll make a second cut where I want my bottom to be. But in order to make it so that these boxes will line up, I'm simply lining up according to these little cutouts here. Yeah, just like that. And that gives me my line, just like that. Perfect. Okay. Go ahead and cut that out as well. And now, just like the top half there, we're going to go ahead and measure off 25.5 inches and rip it back through the table saw. Now my next task is to get the holes for my screws that I'm going to be running through here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just matching up this particular board with one of the good pieces here, and I'm using a 1/4 inch bit here, and I'm just going to run straight through. There we are. So now we've got our holes right on this side, and yeah, just give those a quite light little sand, and I will repeat with the other side. So now I don't think this is 100% necessary, but I am going to attempt to get holes for these little dowels, and the way that I'm going to do that is I'm just going to take the center hole here and line it up with the center hole in this board, so it's right in the middle, and I'm going to just put some lines right in the middle Probably should have popped up these with a little dowel so I could get a little bit lower, but that's no problem. And now I'm just going to measure down on one of those original boards just to see how far down they need to come. And I'm going to go ahead and try to drill those. And I've got the bit here. It is a 5/16 bit. So these holes are actually all about the same length down as the center hole here that I made for the screws. So I'm going to use this small bit just to do some little pilots right exactly where I want them. And then I'll use that 5/16 bit. And I'm trying not to go too terribly far in here. It looks like in these shelves, there's a decent amount of space that dowel can sink in. So even if I'm not as far sunk in as was factory, that's okay. I just don't want to bust out here through the other side. Oh, shoot. That one got just a little bit of stuff nicked out of it, but I think we'll be okay. Can probably fix that up in the finished product. So I've got my little dowels here. I'm just going to tap them into these new holes that I made. I'm going to hope that they match up okay, otherwise I'm going to be using some pliers to pluck them out, but I think we should be okay. We shall find out right away. On side number one, they were all pretty much good. And then there's just a little bit off, so I just simply removed it. Looks like here, yeah, you know what, again, 3 of them are good. This one here's just a little bit off. I'm just going to pull this out. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get this up right here so I don't risk breaking it. Sweet. Yeah, so now that I've got it like this, I know that that's going to fit okay. I'm going to go ahead and get my, my little side pieces here. So I'm also going to attempt to get this dowel to fit in here as well. So same sort of idea, just lining up the drill hole. It's not quite flush to this because it actually sits slightly up. From there, there's the tiniest lip. I'm going to go ahead, draw a line right there. I'll do the same thing on the other side here in a second. But then I'm just going to go like this. And that's pretty close. Like that. Sits in just slightly. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. Fingers crossed, I'm going to give these a whirl, and if for some reason I'm off just a little bit and it's going to be wonky, it's not the end of the world just to have the screws hold them in. Thought it would just be a little bit extra support there. Okay, so everything seems to be fitting okay. It's a little precarious here trying to hold it all together. However, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can just thread in these bolts. Start here. Maybe what I'll do to prevent some of that pain in the ass there is just, there we go, brilliant. Just propping in that other little shelf part there. The second top, I should say. I'm just going to make sure these are all screwing in the right spot. Get them all part way in. Got the last, those little bolts put into here. So this is that the table that I basically had to kind of pseudo manufacture here out of the bottom part. It's looking not too shabby. Okay, I'm going to go and just quickly reassemble the original top part of that, which will be far easier than this because there's no drilling or anything. It's just putting it back together. So now that everything's all assembled here, I'm going to go ahead and I've got it upside down. I'm going to first attach the top so it's nice and tight together and just how I want it. So for that, I'm going to use a 1/8" drill bit, and I'm going to drill a couple of pilot holes through here There. Okay. There we are. Nice and tight together. Awesome. I want to make sure that the base of this is a little bit heavier than the top, so I'm actually going to go with a couple of 2x4s here. These ones are in some definite need of sanding, which I'm going to do here in a second. I've just cut them to match the length here on each side. I noticed it's actually out 1/8 of an inch, even though it's right up tight. Yay, IKEA. But I'm going to go with my random orbital palm sander and sand the heck out of these just so that they're looking nice and just to kind of clean them up a little bit. So now that I've got my 2x4s cut here, sanded, I am ready to actually attach them. So I'm just going to, again, drill some pilot holes. Just to hopefully prevent any splitting of the wood. Get that nice and tight to there. Just like that. Now, I'm going to push these together, do the exact same thing on the other side here. As soon as I drill a little pilot hole, I'm not going to measure this out, I'm just going to eyeball it for distance. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to throw a couple screws in here and then do the same thing on the other side. So just to help keep some strength here in the middle, I am going to take a couple of these flat brackets. I'm going to put one here and then one on the other side as well. I'm just going to very carefully do a pilot hole on each side so as to not poke through here, and then just use some really short screws. And here we are. Nothing that those brackets, those 2-inch brackets and a couple of number 8 5/8 wood metal screws couldn't handle. So now we come down to the bottom. I've got this flipped back upside down. I've decided to go ahead and take the excess, the 2 offcuts from the actual shelving unit, and I'm going to repurpose those for this. This is going to enable this to be square and offer and make sure that it can't doesn't want to kind of move from side to side at the bottom, just giving strength to the legs. So I'm just going to match those up. I'm going to make sure that we're square here. Okay, good. All right, actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just drill in some pilot holes here. All right, so taking this screw. So now I'm just going to make sure that our width at the top here is the same as at the bottom. Yeah, basically perfect. This bit is a little bit rounded off. It's time for a new one. There we are. All right. And yeah, delightful. Let's get these other ones on here. And we'll make sure that is the same. This end. Yep, it's already good. So I'll just go ahead and do this. If it was a little bit off, I was going to squeeze it and get these ones in first, but doesn't seem to matter. Nice. Everything's all flush. Okay. Now, let's get it flipped over. Take a look at it. All right. So this is all together. It's nice and tight. quite sturdy. I need to get this all cleaned up here. There's some goo and stuff like that from when the kids were mucking around with it before. So let's get this tidied up. And one of the finishing steps here is I'm just using some of this triple thick clear coat varnish stuff, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that just because it'll slightly darken up the wood. It'll come a little closer to matching what's going on here. If I was being really picky about this, I could go ahead and find some kind of really light stain and apply that first, maybe, see how I could match it up, and then go ahead with this. However, let's be real, this is going to be a kid's Lego table. It's going to see some abuse probably right away, so I'm not worried about some of those more picky finishing touches. All right, and there we are. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this dry. But actually, in the meantime, we can go ahead and apply the Lego top. So what I'm going to be putting on here is one of these, well, two of these Lego classic white base plates. So I've just got them centered here. Fortunately, it's really quite easy. All I had to do is measure center this way, and then I'm just going to run it along those lines there. Okay, so this clear Gorilla Glue is coming on here. I'm just going to run it around the flat part of the perimeter, and then some on the inside as well. Okay, and now, since this one is all nicely matched up with the center, plunk this down, even with that one. Squish it down flat. Unfortunately, by not getting super close to the edge, I was probably 3/8 or a half inch away from the edge there. It's not going to come squeezing out at me. Do that. Nice, and repeat. Okay, we've got those glued on. Very nice. That varnish is almost dry. I'm just going to take this inside. Actually see a couple of spots I might want to clean up here on the outside. Still, I will do that and get it set up and see how the kids like. Here we are after bath, the Lego table in action. This is a fun little project, a great use of this Ikea shelving unit here, and getting some serious use out of it. What do you girls think?
It's amazing. I love it. 11.